Hey, what is up, mortals? It is TCCrew here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 10 of What If Deku Was Evil. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So we begin. Izuku woke up at an unfamiliar bed, in an unfamiliar room, with an unfamiliar face hovering over him, staring. He let out a gasp and grabbed his staff, which he had become accustomed to keeping at his side while he slept. The blushing girl with blonde hair grabbed his hand to stop him.
It's okay, don't panic.
Her voice was high-pitched, but calm.
You were tossing and turning and crying out in your sleep, and I was just checking in to make sure everything was okay with you and Master Stain.
Izuku jerked away from her as his senses came back to him. He was in the back of the bedroom of the League of Villains hideout, after the police and heroes found the hideout he and Stain had been hiding at. This girl, around his age, was Himiko Toga, he recalled. Her quirk allowed her to use blood samples to shapeshift into a perfect image of whoever's blood she drank.
I'm fine.
Izuku stuttered, still cautious and wary of this girl. If what Stain had told him about the League of Villains was true, these people weren't exactly to be trusted.
I was just having a nightmare about a fairly recent run-in with Endeavor.
Togo sat at the foot of his bed and tilted her head, curiously.
A run-in with that man? Master Stain didn't mention that at all last night. What happened?
Toga's voice leaked with excitement, and she was still blushing. Did she always blush this much?
I'd rather not talk about it. Sorry, Toga. It's not something I'd like to think about.
Izuku was only telling half the truth. He also didn't want her or the other villains to know that he was quirkless, or that he was too weak to save Stain in a moment of need.
Oh, boo, you're no fun at all. But okay, I'll respect your secrets for now.
She blushed more and got up to leave. She stopped in the doorway and turned around.
Oh, by the way, I left some breakfast on the table outside for you and Master Stain when he wakes up. I hope you guys like it.
She closed the door behind her and made her way back to the hall, back to the main room. Izuku laid in bed and thought about their situation, their hideout, plans, and most of their gear were in the hands of the police now. What could they do? Anything they might try would probably already be prepared for, and with Endeavor on the hunt, it was only a matter of time before they ran into him again. He shuddered at the thought of facing him again. Even with his training, he knew he stood no chance against the raw, natural power of the number 2 pro hero. Stain rolled over and stretched.
You could have told her about Endeavor, Izuku. These people may not have our motives or our methods, but they're still villains all the same. We don't have to worry about them betraying us.
Stain had been awake the moment Toga had entered the room, his survival instincts forcing him to prepare for an ambush.
Honestly, at this point, we're probably going to have to team up with them until Endeavor is taken down. We can't safely be on our own until then.
Izuku was now even more troubled at this thought. They had to work with the League of Villains? They had no choice but to one day fight Endeavor? What if he lost Stain? What if the entire League of Villains were destroyed except for him? How would he carry out the rest of his mission on his own? Would he have to flee the country and find other like-minded villains? He shook his head to clear the thoughts from his head. He would discuss it with Stain after breakfast. Izuku and Stain had breakfast in silence. The eggs and bacon were delicious, and much appreciated change of pace from breakfast bars and mixed nuts he had become accustomed to eating out in the forest hideout. When they finished, Stain donned his gear and made for the door. Izuku stopped him.
Master Stain, where are you going?
Izuku cursed Toga for drilling the title before the name in his brain earlier. He knew Stain would mention it, but the question remained valid. It wasn't safe for Stain to leave, especially after the trauma that unfolded yesterday.
Master Stain, I see you and Toga are already getting along well. I'm going to scout the old hideout, but I want you to stay here and talk to some of the other members of the League of Villains. Specifically Shigaraki and Kurogiri, as they're the ones in charge of the operations that go on around here. I should be back before sundown, but don't worry if I'm not. I have no intention of starting anything soon.
Stain walked out the door and down the hall, leaving Izuku worried for his safety and nervous to meet the other members alone. Izuku sat alone in the room for a little while longer, cleaning up and organizing what little belongings they had to make the room feel more like home. For some reason, his thoughts drifted to his mother. He had left her alone without saying goodbye. He knew she would have never understood his anger towards the heroes. his hatred. He didn't leave because he didn't love her. Quite the opposite. He didn't want his mother to see him do the things that he knew he had to do. And he didn't want to get her involved with the dangers that came with all of the fighting between heroes and villains. When he finished his cleaning, he took a deep breath and headed down the hall to the bar. It was surprisingly quiet and empty compared to the crowd that was lurking about at his arrival last night. When he entered the bar, there were only 3 villains around. Kurogiri stood at the bar, washing glasses and wiping down the bar. Shigaraki sat at the bar, a hand now removed from his face, to reveal thirsty red eyes and missing lips. And finally, Toga danced around the room, singing about killing heroes and drinking their blood to hide or something. Izuku couldn't really understand her. Izuku took a seat at the bar, a few spaces down from Shigaraki. He couldn't explain the feeling, but the silent power the man gave off made him especially nervous. Kurogiri stopped cleaning and walked over to him.
Young Izuku, would you like a drink? Perhaps a beer or maybe something stronger?
Before Izuku could raise the question of his age, Kurogiri laughed.
I'm joking, kid. Here.
He opened the fridge behind him and handed Izuku a small bottle of orange juice.
Thank you. You must be Kurogiri? Stain said he wanted me to talk with you about the League of Villains while he was out scouting.
Izuku took a sip from his drink before continuing.
What exactly is the goal? The mission we hope to accomplish? Why are we here and not fighting?
At these questions, Shigaraki sighed and put the hand back on his face before walking out of the room. And Togo had stopped dancing, opting instead to take the seat next to Izuku and stare at him.
The mission?
Kurogiri started.
The mission is simple. We're going to kill All Might, and whichever hero is brave enough to take his place as the top hero. And once we've crushed the heroes down to their last hopes, we'll start our own world. One where power is valued over everything.
Toga clapped her hands and squealed in delight before spinning herself around in the chair, laughing maniacally. All Might? Izuku sat and thought quietly. All Might was a household name, truly the scummiest of all the heroes. He had merchandise galore, with action figures, posters, t-shirts, movies, TV shows, monuments, everything that came with being the #1 hero. The news frequently had interviews and replayed footage of All Might besting villains, blasting with his quirk and laughing, all while giving speeches about how everyone was safe so long as he was around. It made Izuku sick.
Kurogiri, you said the mission was simple, but I'm not so sure taking out All Might is what anyone would call simple. Do we have a plan? Do we have numbers and equipment and strategies?
Izuku had so many other questions, but those were best saved for Stain. He didn't want to offend the people he was currently being forced to work with.
All will be revealed in time, young Izuku. This isn't the time for planning. For now, I suggest relax and recover from your recent mission. Get to know the people here, their quirks and attitudes, so that you may form a better team bond with them to aid you in the events ahead.
Kurogiri was back to wiping down the bar.
For example, my quirk is fairly basic, yet vital to our operations.
Suddenly a fog appeared behind Kurogiri, and he stepped into it. The voice was now behind Izuku, who whipped around in surprise. Kurogiri was standing behind him.
I can create these portals to any location I desire, so long as I know its exact location. I can create multiple of them, and this is incredibly important to the League for purposes of transportation and ambush. Also, I don't mean to boast. I have a naturally sharp mind that is endlessly useful to the planning and execution of said ambushes.
He walked back through the portal, teleporting behind the bar. Izuku was dumbstruck. Such a tool would have been a godsend for the missions he and Stain had conducted. Izuku nodded his understanding and turned to Toga, who was now stumbling around dizzy from her spinning, still giggling.
Toga, I know you can turn into other people using their quirk, but I was wondering, does that mean you can also use their quirks?
Izuku had wanted to ask earlier, but his cautious nature and wary opinion of the girl had stopped him. Toga stopped and turned to him, frowning.
No, I can only assume their form, but that doesn't mean I'm not useful. I use my quirk to gather information, and even so distant among these heroes by creating drama and rivalries while pretending to be one of them.
She giggled again.
Nothing is more fun than watching these heroes argue about things they never actually said, all because of what I did. Not to mention, I'm a very competent fighter. Maybe one day I'll show you.
She winked at him. Izuku realized this girl was far more dangerous than he had originally thought. Suddenly, Izuku felt a hand on his shoulder and a burning sensation spread through him. He turned to see the hand face of Shigaraki mere inches away from him.
Little young Izuku, I hope you're enjoying your stay here with us. Allow me to introduce myself as well.
Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your reading knowledge for all kinds of series, guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We the Celestial Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We Celestials, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being, we only accept members 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be. Whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits, we're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day.